Hey everybody, welcome back to my BakeLikeAPro YouTube channel. As promised, we have revision number 2 of another video that I just posted on my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to be changing one ingredient, and that is the all-purpose flour. We are increasing the flour by 50%. So for today's recipe, we need 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. This is 225 grams. All-purpose flour is also known as plain flour. It's exactly the same type of flour. 1/2 cup of granulated white sugar. This is 105 grams. 1/2 cup of salted butter. This is 114 grams. 1/2 cup of brown sugar. 115 grams. 1 cup of chocolate chips. This is 200 grams. 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. This is 3 grams. 1 teaspoon of regular salt. This is 5 grams. And our last ingredient, 1 large egg. So those are the ingredients, so let's get started. For my first step, I'm taking all of my salted butter, and the butter is soft. I'm going to get that into our machine. All of our white granulated sugar, and our brown sugar. And you can use a light brown sugar or a darker brown sugar, it really doesn't matter. Just break that all up and get that into the bowl. If you have watched revision number 1, we are doing exactly the same thing. So this is exactly the same recipe except for the flour. So the flour I will be increasing by 50%. And you're going to see the difference in the cookies. So I'm going to close this down. This, by the way, is the brand new Cuisinart stand mixer. If you want to see more about this mixer, I do have an unboxing and review, and I have a couple of nice recipes where I actually use this mixer. Really nice. So the first thing I want to do is I want to cream all of this together. And if you have a hand mixer, it will work equally as well. So I'm going to cream this for about a minute and then I'll come back. So that's about a minute of mixing, and now I'm going to add in my egg, and I always use large eggs in all of my recipes. What the egg's going to do, it's going to add moisture and it's going to help with the creaming process. So I'm going to turn this back on, and I really want to get all of this fully incorporated. Okay, that's about 30 seconds of mixing, and I'll just lift this up and hopefully you can see how nice that mixture has become. You can see that it's lighter in color, indicating that it's really being creamed really nicely. For our next step, we have our all-purpose flour, our salt. So I'm going to get the salt in there. And again, the salt, if you want to cut down on the salt or totally omit it in this recipe, you can, since we did use salted butter. But these cookies, I want them a little bit more on the salty side. And then we're going to take our little bit of baking powder. So again, that's baking powder, not baking soda. And then I'm just going to give that a little bit of a stir. And you can sift this in if you wish. But I want to do it exactly the same way as I did it in the previous recipe. So everything I'm trying to do pretty well the same as in revision 1. And the only thing that we're doing is we're increasing the flour by 50%. Again, I'm going to take about half of this. It's about half. And now we will slowly mix that in. And at this point, you don't want to go fast. First of all, you don't want to create a dust cloud, but you don't want to overmix the batter because you'll get a tough cookie. So what am I on here? I'm on speed number 3. So I'm just going to let this go a little bit until it starts incorporating. Okay, that's good. And then we'll just get the rest in. And there we go. Close it down. Speed number 1 to start it. And because we increased the flour by 50%, you're going to see that the batter is going to be much more thick than the batter that we made in the first video of this series. I'll just turn it on a little bit more. Just want to get this all mixed. That's good, just like that. As soon as it starts coming together a little bit, that's good. I'll open it up again. And now all of our chocolate chips. And I'm using the same chocolate chips as I did in recipe number 1, revision 1. And I'll put a link to that at the end of this video and also down underneath this video in the description box. There'll be a clickable link that will take you to the first video where we used less flour. So that's 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and that is exactly 200 grams. I'll close this down, and we'll turn it on. You can see that the batter is much thicker. Just going to let it go a little bit. And that's good, perfect. I'll just lift this up. That's it for the batter. You can actually see, if you look at the other video, I had to use a little spatula to really kind of clean this little beater off. And in this recipe here, you can just see it's just falling right off. So that's it. I'll just lift this up so you can see the batter. And this batter here, I am not going to chill at all. We're going to create the little dough balls, and then we're going to go right into the oven, 350 degrees Fahrenheit. But you can see that this batter here is much, much thicker than the other one. I want to show you the difference between using a little bit more flour and less flour, and show you the difference between the cookies. So just like in the last video, I'm going to collect all of our dough, and I want to weigh it out, and then I'm going to split it into 6 equal balls. So I'm weighing this out, but you don't need to. So let's get this on the scale. So we have 812 grams. I divide that by 6 because I want 6 cookies, and I get a total of 135 grams each. So I'm going to split my balls up into 135 grams each. I'll do that, and then I'll come back. 126, 136, and then our last one. Let's see how close we were. And there we've got 136. So I lucked out. I got every one of them. One of them was at 135. This one's at 136. You can see also that this dough was much easier to handle because of that extra flour. We're using 50% extra flour, so they were a lot easier to work with. I'll just move this out of the way and show you all of the balls here. So now I've just got a little piece of plastic wrap, and I'm just basically, making a little bit of a snowball with each one. So I want them round. That's good. And then right onto the tray. So I'll do that with all 6 balls. And our last one. You can see how easy it is with this plastic. Keeps your hands a little cleaner. So now that I've split all my balls up, we have 6 equal size, and they are now ready for the oven. So I'm just going to spread them out like that. And that's perfect. So at this point, my oven has been preheated, so it is at the correct temperature needed in my recipe today, which is 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So at this point now, I'm going to pop these in, I'll bake them off, and I'll be back in a bit. So here we go, exactly 18 minutes in my 350 degree Fahrenheit oven. And now as the last optional step again, I'm using a little bit of fleur de sel. And I just want to get a little bit on each one. And you do want to do this when the cookies have just come out of the oven, because the salt will stick to the cookie a little bit better. These ones here are a little bit rounded. You can see that there's a total difference in these cookies versus the ones that had less flour in revision 1. And again, I'll put that video in the description box and also at the end of this video. So there we go. A totally different cookie using 50% more flour. So at this point, these are extremely hot. They are a little bit more stiff than the ones that we did in revision 1 of this recipe, but I'm still going to let these cool quite a bit before I move them and put them underneath the tray here onto the cooling rack. One thing I will mention on this recipe, if you want these cookies to be a little bit spread out more, you can use a fork or a back of a spoon and just push them down a little bit before you put them into the oven. That way they won't be as thick and they will spread out a little bit more. So I let these sit here for quite a while and they're actually cooled down now. That's good. So let's take this, let's look at the bottom. Looks really nice. Now let's break into this. Now remember, the true test of a cookie is when it's actually cool. If it's still very warm, it's going to be gooey. But look at this. This is completely cool, and look at this. Oh, I'm going to go in for a little bite. That is really, really good. If you love chocolate chip cookies, you have to try either this recipe out or the recipe number 1, which is revision 1. This here will be revision 2. To finish off the video, here is the cookie that we did in revision 1. So if you like this type of cookie, a little bit larger than this one, then try the first recipe in this series. Or if you like them a little bit thicker like this, then you can go with this recipe, which is revision 2. So you can see totally different looking cookies, but both of them really amazing. So that's it for this really fast video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you wish, and if you're on Facebook, please check me out and like my page at facebook.com/BakeLikeAPro. So that's it for today, and I'll see you next time. And I have to go in for another little bite. Whoa.